We good?
I don't know.
Welcome to episode 54 of Flirting with Realities. So today I wanted to do something a little bit different and pause and kind of just set the tone for our conversation today and do something very simple but powerful and kind of just have like a gratitude session with everybody.
Okay.
And just all of us just take this time to think about something we're grateful for today. It could simply just be something like, my warm coffee was delicious this morning and it brought me joy, to some sort of amazing conversation that you had that made you feel extremely loved. Whatever the case may be. But the whole point of this is that the world's super chaotic right now, and it's so easy to get lost in that. And if you shift your perspective and, well, if you focus on something you're grateful for, it can just shift your perspective. And remember how we used to do that in the car, and it would, like, the kids would kind of have sort of like an infectious thing just from us doing it in the car, and then Porter started joining us. And I'm really hoping that, well, I'm not hoping, I know that if we all sit here and have a moment of gratitude, that it will have a powerful effect that just would ripple into the world. And I've been talking about giving back, and I'm trying to find ways where we can give back. And I think this is one of them. So let's all just take a moment. You can breathe in and breathe out if you want to, and just focus on that thought that you're grateful for today, who it was, maybe, or what it was. And everybody, here we go. Are you thinking of something?
I've got so many. It's not even hard.
Well, I appreciate you all doing this with me today because, again, we're putting off good vibes in this crazy world we have going on around us. And um, I think we can talk about all the crazy shit about the world, but if we're never doing anything about it, then how are we, like, any different than just being a lump on a log? So
Yeah.
that was my point of that today, and I'm super grateful to have you guys here.
Oh, are we done?
Yeah, I just wanted everybody to think about it.
Or you don't think we need to wait? Do you think everybody had time?
Well,
It's
we
easy
can
for
make
me.
time.
Well, I didn't know. If somebody's listening, if they're like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't have time," because these people are so interesting, I can't
I
think and listen
know,
to them
I
at the same
know.
time.
God, we're so distracting. We could make it into like a little meditation, like a minute long, and everybody focus and think on it and close your eyes and really ramp up the energy.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought. I mean, I think you could do that. I don't.
Let's do it. Let's
Okay.
just take a few minutes and I'll just kind of keep talking through. Everybody close your eyes and take a big deep breath in and let it out. And then focus on what brought you joy and peace today, and just feel it and kind of just bask in it, and think of the person or the thing that brought you that joy or peace and gratitude, and just take some more breaths and really focus on that feeling. And really notice how when you are focused on gratitude, that you can't really think negative thoughts, and that you have this positive energy flowing through you, and it's impacting the world when you're doing that with yourself, and then when we're all doing it together, it's even more powerful. So Hopefully that was long enough for everyone. You can open your eyes.
It was good. I'm grateful that we took a couple extra seconds and you did that, because then I had just many more things come in.
Good.
Yeah.
I was trying to like ease people into these kind of things slowly, but I'm glad you said that because I think it's more powerful when you take a little bit longer and just really focus on the feelings. Because that's the point of um if you want to make a difference, putting these type of energies back into the world rather than just focusing on chaos and what went wrong in your day, it's really an energy shift, and I believe it makes a ripple in the world.
I think it can make a big difference. I think it can make a huge difference. You know, I mean, we've had to have talked about this on the podcast before, but when we were doing, both of us were doing gratitude sessions, it was, I mean, you know, it was like, I had like what had to have been the most amazing day of my whole entire life
I know you did.
when I got caught up in gratitude one day. But, you know, it's like, that's what I was doing too, is I was just, I don't remember exactly what I did that day, but I just kept having more and more and more gratitude and like kept it flowing. And then it was just a frame of mind that I got in where it was, you know, the thing is you can get in many frames of mind, states of mind.
You can.
And I forced myself into a gratitude state of mind, which gratitude might be like the best feeling in the world, being grateful for things.
It's completely changed my life, and I can say that when I started like incorporating it in my day, like when I wake up and I'm getting ready and I just it doesn't even have to be long. It can just be a few minutes. But if you do that and then you set your intention for the day, it's a different day for me and I can tell when I miss it. So, yeah, very powerful.
Yeah, I mean, so it'd be interesting, like, but you know, what if you took it to like, it's one of those things that's not hard, but you just kind of refuse to do it. It's like,
I
what if,
don't refuse to do
well,
it.
but what I was going to say is, what if you took it to like another level? Because um, after I had that day, you know, you and I, like, we were playing that game. That's what you were talking about with the kids in the car, playing that game where you can only say, well, there was a couple games, I guess, but one of the games I really enjoyed was when we only could say positive things for,
Yeah.
I don't know what we did, like a half hour, an hour, or something like that.
But it went on beyond that because it's kind of infectious.
No, that's the point I'm getting to is, if you force yourself to think nothing but positive thoughts for, I don't know if I think we might have done it a half hour, might have been an hour, but force yourself into good thoughts for a half hour or an hour, all of a sudden it becomes habitual, and now you can't stop thinking about good thoughts.
Yeah.
And so that's all I'm saying is like, what if you take it to another level? And it's like, I mean, you're 10 steps ahead of me by starting your day with gratitude. Then it's like, what if you force yourself into saying or thinking nothing but positive things for the first hour, or how, figure out how long it takes until your brain takes over and thinks nothing but positive things for the rest of the day? Like, how long? Yeah, that would be an interesting thing to figure out about yourself.
For sure.
Could I do 10 minutes a day of nothing but gratitude, and then it just like sets my brain off? Or is it, do you have to do 2 hours? How long do you have to
Well,
do, you know?
I'm not going to be snotty or anything, but I don't know if you know this, that my day is full of gratitude. And I can catch when I'm not being grateful. And I'm not saying that I don't ever, like today was tough. It was one of those like heavily busy days where you're around people who require a lot of your energy, and those days are tougher for me. But on an average day, I would say my day is full of gratitude.
Yeah. I don't think I'm ever lacking gratitude per se, but I think other thoughts consume me, which gratitude can overpower those other thoughts.
Well, I would like to invite you to read Transurfing Reality.
Okay. Thank you for the
Because I
invitation.
understand what you're talking about, because I've been there, and I'm not saying I'm not ever there, but that understanding pendulums and how they want your energy, good or bad pendulums, and really having Transurfing Reality explained to me put me in a position that I can recognize a pendulum, and I can be literally going, I'm not giving my attention to this pendulum.
Yeah.
It's and I don't think Transurfing Reality is for everyone. I think the whole point of Transurfing Reality is you can make up your own reality. You don't have to believe in pendulums even if you don't want to. You can create your own thing that adjusts those thoughts for you. No matter what, if you're adjusting those thoughts, it's a fucking positive thing. So
Yeah.
if it's a pendulum that makes you do it, or Joe Dispenza, or you create something on your own, I don't think you can go wrong with that.
Is this this book on audio also?
Yeah. I'm on my third time listening to it, and I'm on chapter 9.
Audio?
Yeah. It's a lot of information, and I'm trying to really memorize everything because it's so, to me, so fucking powerful.
Where do you listen to it, or how do you get it
It's free
online?
on Spotify,
Oh, really?
completely free.
Oh,
Well, with my package that I have on Spotify, it's free. Which we have the family plan. So if you have the family plan, you should be able to listen to it.
yeah.
It's Transurfing Reality by Vlad. I can look.
Shouldn't be hard to find with just that information you just gave, right?
Oh, Vadim Zeland. Reality Transurfing.
Okay, well, I'll check it out. Um, got some time, I could listen to it. But I think you're right. It's I guess I got a couple thoughts. And one of them's why is it so hard to make changes or do something,
This book will tell you all about it.
it's going to.
These, I will do my best to explain pendulums. Pendulums are basically um, creations or ideas that have energy, and they like to have more energy. And I think you should really listen to the book because it will blow your mind how crazy it is that this pendulum can just want your time and your thoughts, and it will bring this idea to you. And that's why it's so difficult, because once you start, there's this thing in the universe, I don't know if you notice, where it's balancing forces. Do you notice that? So, like, if you give excessive importance to something, like, the universe will automatically try to balance it out. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Um, I
You
don't
really
know.
need to read the book. But the pendulum basically wants the power, wants the energy from you. And once you give it your energy, it's hard to. It basically explains alcoholism and people who really like have a hard time. See, we can bounce out of pendulums, but there's a lot of people who can really get sucked into them, and they're it's like a bank. And then once you give so much like credit to this bank, it's hard to like get your energy back, if that makes any sort of sense. So the more energy you give it, it's like basically a debt that you owe.
Oh, interesting. It's like going to prison and getting out and being on parole and making one little mistake and you're back in prison.
Yeah, and you know, I'm not doing it any sort of justice. When you hear the explanations, it really propels you in a direction that you want to live your own life, and you want to make your choices. You don't want to be controlled by these other forces that are trying to take your and control your thoughts and your mind.
Well, but it's like, this is what we talk about is like, do you think doing simple things is so hard?
It very much can be, for sure.
Well, and you and I have talked about this a few times at least, is, well, what is willpower? Where does it come from? And I think we've come to the conclusion that willpower comes from doing hard things and getting used to doing hard things, and then you can just do it. But you got to start small, and then you got to start building up, and then it's kind of like you got to tell your conscious and your subconscious have to come to an understanding that your conscious is in control, not the subconscious is in control.
Yeah.
So do you think that would be the first step to transurfing and like making your own reality is having a lot of willpower, having a lot of strength to just say, okay, I don't want to, but I'm going to?
Well, you got to think about Andrew Huberman telling you what it does to you. He scientifically explained what happens when you start like doing hard things and how it like creates new neural pathways. So, yes, to answer your question, I do think that that is a great way um to begin, because you think about the cold bath and think about anyone you tell this can change your life, and they're like, no thanks, man. But you're like, dude, let me tell you, like, it's changed my life. I'm not even the same person. And like, just listen to what's her name?
Rhonda Patrick?
Rhonda Patrick and Andrew Huberman, and I forget the lady's name who did the study on cold plunging.
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna get that one.
Anyway, all cause mortality.
Sonnenberg?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Well,
All cause mortality is just increased. So why wouldn't you do it? Just because of that. Just because it will, like, it's a few minutes of your life, and because you'll be healthier. But anyway, yes, absolutely. Just do something hard every day. Make the bed. If you're like like you're super messy, just start by making the bed.
well, yeah, I mean, like I always said, like, what if, the person that's like, they have some garbage and they like shoot it, and then
Oh, I know who you're talking
and then
about.
it misses, and they're like,
You know,
walk away.
yeah, I absolutely know that person, and sometimes I feel that way. Not a
Oh,
lot, not a lot,
I
but
do.
sometimes
I do.
I do, and I'm like, no, quit being a pussy and go get it, because it just takes once of not getting it that there's all of a sudden trash everywhere. And I don't know if you notice, I don't, unless I'm sick or not doing well, I just don't allow myself to do those sort of things.
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways you're stronger than me when it comes to that kind of stuff. We've had conversations about turning off the bedroom light when you're all cozy and warm in bed, and I'm like, dude, I'll just get a Google and like a Wi-Fi like switch, and like, I gotta just get out of bed and get it. I think you've started to see my ways. You're right though. It's interesting because it's like it's just something you have to decide. Like, are you going to do this? and then you start doing it. You know, I mean, because that's how you go to the gym. You just say, okay, I don't want to, but I'm just going to.
I know I told you about my friend at work who continues to make this list,
Yeah.
and then she feels super guilty that nothing is getting done on the list. But I think this is the problem, is setting too huge of goals. To be, don't make a like huge list. I mean, maybe have a list of things you want to get to someday, but definitely have a starting list that's attainable. Like, not like if you're overweight, not working out at all, eating ice cream and eating very badly, maybe don't jump to like I'm working out 5 days a week and not eating anything bad for me. Just like you said, start small.
Sometimes that's what I'm saying. Those the small things are like impossible. I'm saying
I
like
think
like
that's why it's most important, because the details of things can make a huge impact.
yeah, it's an interesting conversation because, like I say, like missing the garbage and being like, oh my, I gotta go pick it up. Well, you know, that should not be that hard, but I'm guilty of it. I like force myself to go do it all the time. For some reason, it never seems to get easier. Like I'm always like, I don't need to pick it up. And like, go pick it up. Go pick it up. But, you know, yeah, even making the bed is like, like why? I have to fight it all the time.
I enjoy things like that, so it's not a fight for me for
Well, but you know what's funny is a lot of it could be your physical health and your mental health too, because it's like lately I've been going through like a fatigue, and my motivation is just in the dumps. It's just,
yeah, I think that's different.
well, but is it? Because if you're not working out and you're not eating good, you're physically probably not feeling good, you're mentally probably not feeling good, and then that ruins all your motivation. So it's kind of like, I mean, if you're sick, okay, fine. What are you going to do? But if you're just living a lifestyle that causes low motivation, you have to, like you're saying, like you owe the bank money. You kind of have to go pay you have to pay your debt. And the thing is to pay your debt, you just don't win the lottery and then go pay your debt. Paying your debt is difficult. You have to stop spending money, and you have to not buy things, and you have to struggle to make up for the past. And I think that's the same as like working out or eating, is like, especially if you're overweight. It's the same thing as money, because you have eaten too much in the past, and the only way to correct that is to eat less than you should, not as much as you should. You need to eat less than you should to lose weight. And it's like, man, it's a tough pill to swallow, but I don't. It's like so overwhelming. I'm sure for so many people to sit there and go like, okay, not only do I just have to do the right thing, but then I have to do more than the right thing to play catch up.
The thing that is going on too, that I think a lot of people talk about, that I think is really important, is how our society is trying to distract people and keep them as consumers. And it's in so many different areas that people are battling so much right now. You're battling TikTok, you're battling social media, Facebook, there's AI, YouTube, there's your job. There's so many different like food out, like it's being thrown at you, but I think the key is to quit consuming and quit consuming as much as possible, because I mean, it's like those after school things that we watch, and it's after school on YouTube, which is a fucking amazing program, but he's a good artist and he'll draw like this a comparison of someone who's working on themselves, and you can call it spirituality, inner reflection, self-development, and it's like this beautiful like rainbow, like maybe pastures with animals when he draws the people, and then when he draws materialism, people look overweight and tired, and their eyes like have like red circles in them, and their bellies are hanging out while they're playing their video games. And I believe that consumption is like taking away your purpose for living.
Distraction. Consumption is distraction, right?
It's slavery. You are not an individual when you are just think about just, and I'm not making fun of anyone that's doing social media. I've been on it myself and I've been this person. I sympathize really, because it just is, it's giving you a dopamine hit and it's sucking your energy. It is, talk about a debit, talk about a credit. I mean, you're definitely going in the hole there. And I'm saying this only as someone who has quit those platforms, but I still have my phone, which to me is an insane distraction with just the phone itself. And I'll find myself just checking emails. And I'm like, why am I checking my email? And then I have to think about it. I'm like, yeah, put that down and put it in your purse and put it away. It's all crazy.
Yeah. I mean, well, obviously nobody saw this, but when we were starting this podcast, I'm trying to set up the phone to take video, and then I'm connecting it to the tripod thing, and then
Yeah.
it had problems. And so it was 20 minutes later, and that's exactly what I was thinking is it's just like, I mean, talk about sucking your energy and sucking your time. And it's like, I mean, but you get to like share a podcast with the world, but here's the trade-offs for everything. And there just seems to be, I mean, this is what I've been talking about for a long time, but it just seems to be the trade-offs for everything we're doing today is like, whoa. We just got done watching um whatever, American Primeval.
Primeval. Amazing.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good Netflix,
Excellent
right? Netflix?
actor. Yeah.
Netflix show. So it was really good, but the thing I'm thinking about when I'm watching that is Jim Bridger. He was like whatever. He was a pretty influential pioneer in the day. But I was thinking about him, and I was thinking about he built a fort. I was thinking like how hilarious it is. I'm imagining him building a fort. When you build a fort, you wake up in the morning. He might brew some coffee. I don't even know if he does that. And he goes and chops some logs maybe, and then starts putting logs up. And everything that guy is doing is purposeful.
Well, yeah, and he has a community that he's caring for too.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like everything he's doing has to do with something he wants to do. And I mean, I guess you could say like setting up the phone with this tripod is like it's doing something, but at the same time, it's not. Like I feel like I'm just wasting my life. Like you're saying, like social media is like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? You're not doing. You're literally not doing anything. You're seeing things.
You're consuming.
Yeah, you're seeing things, and you're like, ha, 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 ha. And it's not even funny stuff. I think if you took a step back and looked at the stuff you're looking at, it's not funny. It's not entertaining. You're just like looking at things. You're like constantly looking at things. It's like, I don't know, man. I really, I just kind of would like to be Jim Bridgers and like you're just
Have a
there.
purpose.
Well, and you're just in the moment, and you're just
Yeah.
like I said, everything you're doing, and it has to do with what you're doing. But now it's like,
I
you know,
think that's what we're meant to be doing. I think people are meant to have a purpose, and all these distractions, you know, radio, television, internet, social media, food, all of it is just distracting you from your purpose.
yeah. Well, I mean, especially if you want to talk about Jim Bridger rolls up in wherever today, and they're like, "We're going to need you to get some permits." And then he's like, okay, who do I talk for a permit? And then you go talk to like 40 people for permits, and they're like, we're about a year and a half out on
Yeah.
permits. What? And then they find out that there's like some Indian bones or something in the ground. They're like, can't build here. In fact, we're gonna have to take your land. It's just like, oh, dude, like nothing's getting done. Like nothing's. It's so hard to do anything.
Yeah.
Maybe I just need to go homestead. Maybe we need to. Can you still homestead Alaska? Did you say?
I believe you can.
Just go homestead it.
Yeah.
Shoot some bears or something. I don't know. It's like you talk about balance, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Like I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I don't know. When you talk about balance and how everything balances out, like if I want something and then it rejects and like that sort of thing, I don't know. But what I do know is I know that life tries to balance life. And I think that's what the world's going through is like the liberal conservative sort of thing. And it's like liberals push and they get what they want, and then conservatives push and they get, and it's like everything's trying to balance. And I think that's true, but I remember where I was going with this. Um, oh, but that's where I'm kind of worried is I feel like there's not a lot of balance in becoming involved in the metaverse or zombies or whatever you want to call it. I feel like there's a direct pull to being as lazy and as fat and hedonistic as you possibly be. And there's nothing pulling people back. You know what I mean?
I think that there's a lot pulling people back. I mean, I know you don't watch Eckhart Tolle or Aaron Doty or I mean, there's so many Joe Dispenza retreats. There's like thousands of people. Abraham Hicks. There are people going in another direction. And I don't know if you heard when I was watching Eckhart Tolle last night and how he was explaining humans are awakening and they're awakening to like do you remember that? Did you hear
I
anything he
didn't hear it.
said?
No, I didn't
Yeah.
hear
I think it's very overwhelming because of the transition that the world is in because I believe the awakening has just like begun. So it seems like it's teetering like into chaos. But I do think that there is something else and it's pretty beautiful and amazing. And it's a matter of like we did at the beginning of our podcast, shifting that energy. But I also do believe in 5D reality and
it.
there's going to be a break off.
Well, yeah. And so here's my thing, though, is like if you take the liberal conservative example, I feel like that's like a large majority of people versus a large majority of people. And it's like it's balance. It's like moving constantly. And I think you are right about whatever you want to say, like people waking up or 5D or whatever you want to say. Like there's people that are becoming aware. But my thing is, I think that's like 1% of people. I don't, and that's all I'm saying is I think, let's say there's 50% liberals, 50% conservatives.
I think you're right.
And I think it's like, that's like very like balancing back and forth. And like, it's just noisy right now, but it's still like balancing the boat is rocking for sure, but it's balancing. And I think like what I'm saying, like about wanting to eat pizza and ice cream while you're watching movies and video games, I don't I don't feel a pullback on that. I don't feel like I mean we've been going downhill for a long time, for
Yeah.
30
No, I
years. Like
agree with you. I don't think there is a pullback on that.
I don't think so either.
I think that's going to be the drop off.
Well, why do you think that is? Why do you think like nature's not trying to balance that? Like why it seems like nature's just like, okay, survival of the fittest, you fatties, see you later, fall off the cliff and have fun. Like how come there's no nature going like these fat overweight people aren't like, enough's enough, like I'm getting in shape. A couple,
I
there are a
mean,
couple, but
what was that video we watched about the ebb and flow and high and rise of um like Rome or ancient Rome,
yeah,
or I believe that is kind of a balance. It just seems like it isn't, because you know how they said these like kind, peaceful parents will like create this like serene, peaceful community, and then like maybe their children or their children's children will become greedy. And I mean, so it's kind of like a like
yeah.
so I think it is a balance, but it doesn't seem like it, because it'll be like materialism and then it'll be like peace, love and happiness. Then but I mean, I know what you're saying, because it doesn't seem very balanced if you look at it today. It is grossly in the other direction.
Well, I think you're explaining it well. So maybe it's just a bigger wave, like a really big wave. So what do you think is the opposite that would be counterbalancing that?
That's a very good question. I mean,
Like, I mean,
I
it could be death, right? That's what happens when you get that unhealthy. It could be mass death.
I mean, I think that is absolutely going to be. I mean, the illness is rampant, and depression, anxiety, to me those are kind of death. It's a death. You're not living, but yes, there will be a yeah, I mean, I think death will certainly happen.
Well, it's a trip. As I was talking to this guy, this new guy that's kind of become a friend, and he's a lot younger, and his dad's a year younger than me, and he was talking about. He told his dad, he said, "You need to get in shape if you're going elk hunting with me. I'm not tolerating you being out of shape and holding me back on the hunt." So his dad agreed, and he worked out and got in shape. But then I guess he told him a little while later, he's like, "Man, I'm really glad that you did that, because," he's like, "I was just having so many health problems." He said, "If if I started having like heartburn or like something that is an indication of a heart attack," he goes, "I was so unhealthy at the time that that was all normal. I was having like symptoms like that just on a daily basis." And he said, "I think I'd be dead right now if I wouldn't have gotten in shape, because I was having all those symptoms, and I think I would have just died." And I'm sitting there going like, how old is he's how old? He's like 46. And I'm like, that's a year younger than me. The thing, and like, think about that. Like, think of, like, dude, if people are dying at like 40s in their 40s, just because I guess I'm in my 40s, that seems unreal. But I think my grandpa died in his late 40s from a heart attack. That is unreal. That is so young. Like you're
It
talking about
is.
half the life expectancy.
But
But
what's another scary thing is that people are just living with these symptoms. Our bodies are speaking to us, but they're so distracted with all these, things we're talking about that they can't hear their own body talking to them.
yeah, but this has become normalized. Like
Yeah.
this is not far fetched to think. I mean, if you've been obese, kids have been obese for at least 5 or 10 years. 10 years, probably, right?
Oh yeah.
10 years. So if you've been obese,
I think 15 years.
okay, let's just take tenets in the middle. But let's say kids have been obese for 10 years since they were 5. These are now like 15-year-olds, maybe turning 20-year-olds, that have been obese their whole entire life. How much longer are you going to last when your body has been taxed its whole entire life? I mean, I don't know if I'm getting crazy, but I'm like 30, 35. You're going to start having serious health problems. And
I
that's
don't
like,
think
you're
that's
still a
far off.
baby. You're
Yeah.
still a baby in your 30s.
Yeah.
At least I think. Like, you know,
It's sad, but another thing that they all have going against them, as we know from experience, is going to a doctor is they're not sending you to the gym. They're not sending you to
no.
telling you to take vitamin D3 and have your homocysteine checked and maybe take some B12. So they're giving them basically things that are going to like create a lifelong um, need for their prescription because that's what they want.
Well, that's what I was going to say is like, the doctors aren't telling them to work out and eat right, because that's not what they want to hear. And it's funny because it's dynamic of people and doctors. Like, how long are you going to be a doctor and you'd be like, exercise and diet, like, you're going to last a week before you're like, what kind of prescription do you want? Like,
Yeah,
how do
or
we
I
just,
think that a lot of them go to social media to. I mean, there's Peter Attia. I think that's how you say his name, and he's really into longevity and pushing diet and exercise. There are a few, but I think because there are a few, those people would definitely be harder to like. You can't get him to be your doctor
yeah.
because, well, because he's famous now. And yeah, I think it's becoming a little more recognized because, we watch a few people on YouTube, but I think those people are forced to go to YouTube.
Well, but it's like there's a separation between people who want to have good health and then everybody else.
There is.
There's this fork in the road, and like, this guy was asking me the other day, he's like, man, my stomach is like not good, like heartburn, and like I've got all sorts of problems. And I'm like, you could try like a probiotic or some kombucha or something. And it's kind of like he starts looking at you cross-eyed, like okay, like you're gonna, and then I'm like, you know what, I would try those two things, and then on top of that, I would check into my vitamins and my blood work, and I'm pushing homocysteine pretty hard. I'm like, I would try vitamins and homocysteine. Like, no, no,
Yeah,
there's no discussion. Like, but here's what I'm saying is like, and I kind of took a step back, and I'm like, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, if I'd have been like, dude, I don't feel good, there's something wrong with my body, and somebody was like, you should drink kombucha and get your vitamins.
yeah,
I'd be like, okay, crazy. Like, that's
yeah,
going to fix my problems, vitamins and
yeah. This
kombucha.
is my stomach. What's wrong with you?
But
But I mean, I think that was an excellent way to go because your microbiome, it's become like known that it's like basically another brain that you have. It's required to. It was very good advice you gave him. I think that's a good start.
Well, the funny thing is, I think he went to the doctor. I'm not sure what he was told, but I heard him saying something about it's like, I got to drink a gallon of water a day now. I'm like,
I think water is a good idea too, but
yeah, when you should be
he
drinking.
probably wasn't having any.
Well, you got to quit drinking rock stars to drink water is a problem. You can only drink so much water if you're
God, could
drinking
you
rock
imagine
star.
if we just like could help people just start drinking water every day?
Can you imagine how much the United States would heal if it just quit drinks that aren't water?
Yeah,
Just that.
yeah.
Cut out your soda, rock star. Like when I started thinking about that, like he's drinking rock stars. Like, do you understand that there's a significant problem with drinking acidic drinks all day long?
And especially if you're not drinking water with
Yeah,
it. That's
yeah,
insane to think about.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Well, I'm maybe you planted a seed and
no.
no.
I would no. That's what I say. Like I could feel him thinking about me and going like, "This is
You
the
know,
craziest guy I ever met."
it's like you said though, you've been that person where you'd be like, what the fuck is he talking about?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's hard, right? But
Well, but
I
it's what I'm
think
talking about. Like, there's a fork now.
yeah.
There's a fork with people where people are like insistent, like, okay, I'm not doing vitamins and kombucha. I'm just going to go to the doctor. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
you know. But then it's like, but that's the hilarious thing is health to me. Health is really boiling down to diet, exercise, and vitamins, and maybe throw some probiotics in there and check your blood work. That's all it really is. And then, like,
I have to
why?
throw in meditation and mindset for
I think you're
sure.
going to another level for sure there. But I think you can have basic health without it. I think you're just like way better off.
Optimizing.
Yeah, I think you're way optim. Like a lot of, I'm not discounting at all. I'm just saying like it's like taking it to a whole different level. But it's just like, why did it take me this long in my life to understand diet, exercise, vitamins, and if you have a problem, you do blood work? That is so ridiculously simple. That is like, I should be able to teach like a 10-year-old that.
But I think you didn't figure it out till now because we were all of society didn't know any better. We didn't have the information that we have now.
Well, kind of. But this is what I'm trying to tell you is when I went into the doctor with health problems 11, 12 years ago, he was like, sounds like thyroid. And I'm like, what do you think about checking all my vitamins? He's like,
Yeah,
whoa.
I've been through that too.
So it's like, it kind of was deep rooted in me, like his common sense. But then I'm trusting these people that allegedly know way more than I do about health, and they're shutting me down. I'm going like, well, who am I?
Well, this is Western medicine. It just really is Western medicine.
It's Western medicine, but it's also misleading people. I mean, I hate to say it, but it is.
Well, it is grossly, but
But the doctor's been misled too, so I'm not really.
that's what I'm saying. It's they're taught it in college. They're going through these courses that are paid for by big pharma that is pushing them to push a drug rather than look for they're curing they're not curing, they're masking symptoms rather than isolating the problem, which is likely related to lifestyle, diet, exercise, environment, one of these things. It's a pill before you're like doing what you said. Well, do some kombucha and like try some basic things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's discouraging, but there are people out there like Gary Brecka, getting the message out. And I think you're getting a message out to your people. I'm getting a message out to the people that I come in contact with. And you have to understand, like, even if it's not that person, he could be like to somebody else, you're not going to believe what this dude told me. And he told me to try kombucha and this for my stomach. And maybe that person would be like, maybe I'll try that. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but that's what I'm saying is I feel like there's this fork in the road, and then I feel like, well, where's the balance in nature coming from? These people don't want to hear diet, exercise, vitamins. They don't want to hear it. It is not no, like no.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing gratitude in the morning either, and I'm not picking up a piece of garbage that missed the garbage. No, like I'm not. It's like, okay, well,
Yeah,
what's
but
the plan?
I
Like, where
hate
are
to
we
say
going?
this, but a lot of those people are feeling sorry for themselves and wondering why they're depressed laying in their bed.
No, for sure. But that's the funny thing is like the answers are all right in front of us, but not nobody, but a lot of people are just like, listen, if I told you the answer was as simple as picking up the garbage when you missed the garbage can, if somebody's listening to this and they do that, and I said, it'll change your life to pick up that piece of garbage and throw it in the garbage can, is this person listening going to go like, makes total sense. I'm going to do that. No, there's going to still be this like mental block. There's this thing that we all do that
But
are like, it's like, no,
this is
I'm not
what, like
changing.
Andy says, it starts with you. Like, be the change.
Yeah. And I think that's what needs to happen is I think there just needs to be good influences and vibes, and it's kind of what I was telling you um, about my daughter, and just trying to explain to her she had a problem with a vendor. And so rather than go and talk to this person and say, hey, I've got a problem and I spent a lot of money and I would like to feel like I got my money's worth and explain, you know, it was kind of like she looked at her problem and, we've all done this. And, it's not a thing with her, but it's a common thing amongst people. But instead, what people do is they go, well, I'm not happy. And then they go home and they write reviews, negative reviews, and then they get mad and then they like somehow take it out on the company that they're dealing with. When it's so funny because it's the same thing as medical, like diet, exercise, vitamins. The answer to that problem is have respect for the business owner and say, hey, here's how I'm feeling and here's how I think things went. What do you think? Just have respect and treat them like a decent person. And then if
Mhm.
they give you the finger and they're like, nope, go screw yourself. Well, now, like, let's get emotional. But in the beginning, give them a chance, talk to them calmly, which people don't get. And when you do that, it you're very well likely to get what you wanted if you treat people with respect. But I was thinking about my daughter, and I was like, what if she likes TikTok? What if she got on TikTok and she's like, hey, all my friends, listen, my dad told me that if I go talk to businesses and I calmly explain my feelings, that it's more likely I can get what I want, and then they're also more satisfied, and they don't have to deal with negative reviews. So it works out awesome for everybody. And then like this TikTok is like, oh my gosh, like I've never thought about that. If I ever have a problem with a business, I'm going to try that. And then now all of a sudden, all these people are going to businesses and they're like, hey, I didn't feel good about what happened. What do you think? Can we work it out? And they're like, oh, I'm so glad you came to me. Instead of giving me negative reviews, like, let's work it out. now the whole world's a fucking better place because we understand this basic concept, which is like, this is the funny part, is it's not, maybe it is hard in the beginning to change the way you do things, but by doing the right thing and having respect for people, you're going to get more out of it. You're going to have better chances of getting what you want. So why wouldn't you do this? It's like, it's just a better way to treat each other, you know? And it's like,
Well, and you know how I feel about putting bad energy into the world.
yeah,
I think you need to think about who you want to be. And I agree with you. Like, go to whomever and just say, hey, I feel this way and it doesn't feel good. And there's something we can do about it, and just be vulnerable and take a chance. And I can't see that, I know, having experience with a lot of angry people in the travel industry, anyone who would have come up to me and said, hey, like, I screwed this up, I chose the wrong date, I would go out of my way for them to try to get it fixed.
yeah. Well, but even if you couldn't get it fixed, yelling is not getting you anywhere. It's just making the world a worse place.
It is.
If I can't do anything, I can't do it. But this is what I'm trying to tell my daughter, is like, when you put people on the defense, when you come in like guns blazing, like even me today, if you come in guns blazing, you can just pack your bags and get right back out, because I'm not going to deal with it. But if you come in and you're
I'm
like,
not going to deal with it either.
yeah,
I
you
don't
come
have
in
time for that.
you come in like she did, and she's like, hey, listen, like, I've got kind of a problem. Like, okay, well, what do you think is fair? Like, how do you want to work this out? That's how, like, you can't put people on the defense, but it's just, the interesting part is the correct thing to do, the loving thing to do with people is what's going to get you what you want. And but this is kind of what we're talking about, is the world is like, I want to eat like crap, I want to like watch TV all day, and I want to do everything that's bad for me. And then, if I have a bad interaction with a business, I want to do the easy thing, which is just lose my mind,
Make
and
them pay.
yeah, blow out on them and give them bad reviews. It's all like, it's what we're talking about, right? Pick up the garbage if you miss it, because that's why you're not dealing with the business in a respectful kind of way, is because it's harder. It's more difficult to do, but it's not really that hard to just go talk to somebody.
The more you do that kind of thing too, it's not the harder thing to do.
Mm-mm.
It's just the harder thing to do at first, to transition into that more kind, loving person that's doing hard things. Once you're there, it's the easy thing to do.
Yeah, but what's kind of interesting about that is, like, I had the realization talking to you the other day about how maybe I've done business in certain ways, or I've treated people certain ways, or I pushed things through. Like, I'm used to like putting a square peg through a round hole, and I just hit it harder. It's going. This is just what we're doing. And I've been thinking a lot about that idea, and how I've always been like, yeah, I take a square peg and I put it through a round hole and I pound that shit through. And I'll tell you what, shit gets done. Like, it's not easy, but it gets done. And man, I've been thinking about that so much lately. Like, the problem is it does get done, but it's just interesting to think, well, what if you just put the square peg down and you just picked up the round peg and just put it through?
Yeah.
Because what I'm not realizing in that situation is stuff also gets done when you put the correct peg in the correct hole, and it could be easier. But it's so interesting to think that there was a point in my life where I just grabbed a square peg and I just pounded it through that round hole, and I was like, victory. Why isn't everybody doing it this way? And I think it's like the correct way to do things. And so I just like, let's just keep doing this, because it's working.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting to like take a step back and go, oh, well, I've never given anything else a chance because I got the result that I wanted. But it's the same thing we're talking about with, like, if you go into a business, guns blazing, and you get results, now you're like, well, this is the way we're doing this because I just got results and I'm always going to get results. Sometimes I have to stand there and complain a lot until they get sick of me, but I get results. But it's like, take a step back, round peg, round hole, and go into that business and say, hey, here's how I feel. What do you think? And then they're like, okay, well, let's rectify this. And you're like, oh my gosh, that was easy. It's like take a step back. This is what I'm saying. Like, I've thought about this a lot, and I'm like, take a step back and look at how you're treating your life. If something feels difficult, maybe that means you're putting a square peg in a round hole.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to realize, like, I have been doing that a lot, and I force things through because I think it gets me results, but I need to take a second look at that and be like, let's see if there's an easier way to do this, peaceful, more easier way.
I think that's amazing. That's like a big growth thing. Kind of awesome.
Yeah, well, it's something like I've involuntarily been going through lately, is just looking at my life, thinking about, like, how easy is life actually, but how hard do I like to make it? And I think like we were talking about, like, what I was asking you the other day, like, what is money to you? Like, how do you treat money? And you're kind of like, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're kind of like, oh, I kind of like not to focus on it, and like, if you want something, you just kind of do it and you just flow with it and everything.
I changed my relationship with money, and even to the point where if I see a penny, I pick it up because I want money to know how much I love it. I do not focus on it anymore. I focus on the thing that I want to do more and not about the money I need to do it. So, yes, if that's what you were.
Well, but that's kind of, I asked you that question without knowing your answer, but you kind of answered it in a way, like, I've been thinking about how I want to treat it, is instead of focusing on, I need to get money, or I need to do this with money, or I need to save money, or whatever you want to do with money. I just started thinking, like, well, what if you, and this is where it gets tricky, because I don't think this is entirely true, but what if you just said, I'm just not going to really worry about money in any sense, but I think you need to be practical about it, and you can't just, like, act like you won the lottery. So there's like a balance.
Yeah, no, I have to agree with you. I don't think you should pretend like you have something you don't have. But I don't think you have to focus on any sort of lack either.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
it does, and it's going to take me a long time to figure out, if I do figure it out.
I
But
think
it's
you'll figure it
but
out.
it's like we're saying, round peg, round hole is just like, what if you just could figure out how to flow and not really, like, be super concerned with money, but you're very balanced and conservative with it at the same time, but you just go, oh, well, it's time to buy a car. I'm going to buy a car, and I'm going to do this. But, like,
Without the old, like maybe guilt or
it's just what you're doing.
buyer's remorse or any sort of. Yeah, I forget who I was listening to. It was like during the summer, and she was talking about how she used to put limitations on money, like for instance, just if you want to go on a trip and you're like, well, I need to get $2,000 this way, and you put some limitation on how you're going to get that money. So you've limited the money coming in to only that way. And I was like, holy shit. It just revolutionized my relationship with money. I don't even look at money the same way, because I used to do that. I used to put limitations on money. well, I've got to get it from my 9 to 5 job. I've got to get it door dashing. I just quit doing. I just quit that. I don't have that relationship with money anymore. But yes, I don't think that you should like make shit up either. Like that you're a millionaire if you're not. I think you can have an attitude that you're deserving of being a millionaire.
Yeah, it seems like an actual tough balance, but it's like the thought is still there. So I don't know. It's an interesting one, but it's it's what we talked about with, like, I think DoorDash is a good example of it, because DoorDash is like there's times when you make
$40 an hour.
yeah, you can make $40 an hour, you can make 8.
Yeah.
But a lot of times you can make 8 and then you go, well, I can't make money doing this.
Yeah.
I can't make money doing this. And then you just like push through for like a week making like this horrible wage, and then kind of look back and you're like, well, I have like $800.
I averaged 40 or $25 an hour or whatever it is.
Well, but not even that. Like, if you just, this is what I'm saying, is it's magic somehow, because you could just have the worst week ever where you're making like $8 to $10 an hour. That might be a little bit drastic, not true, but you could have this worst week ever, and then you kind of look at it and you're like, how did I even make money? Like, how am I able to afford groceries? How am I able to afford my car payment after I'm doing this job that doesn't even pay me? Like, after I pay for gas and whatever to fix my car, I shouldn't make any money at all, but somehow I'm buying the things that I need. And so it's like, well, why did you even focus on it at all, on how much you're making an hour, rather than just be like, I'm just going to go to work, because that's what happens when people work. They pay for things. So I'm just going to go to work.
Yeah.
And then it'll just come in somehow. I don't know how. I have no idea how, but it just does.
It doesn't matter how. It just comes in.
Well,
it's just been flowing into me in different ways.
Yeah, well, and it's still tricky because, if you want to DoorDash the rest of your life, go ahead. But there's also, you could go get an education, or you could start a business. There's other things you can do to make more money. So, like, I don't know that you want to get totally caught up in that mindset.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, here's what I'm doing right now, and I'm just going to do it, and I'm going to enjoy it. And then if I want to move,
that's just it.
I'll move.
Purpose and enjoyment and flow and energy. There's a lot of moving parts. It's not just door dashing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, man, you sure talked a lot in that podcast.
I did.
What are we doing?
That's unusual.
Or an hour 7. Okay, well, people are probably going to be like, this is a long podcast.
Yeah, probably. But thanks for sticking around. We're super grateful for you.
Yeah, and you're welcome for the long podcast, by the way.
Yeah. We enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was good. We got saunas on tap, so it's all warm, ready for us. So we need to go get in. Yeah. Carol-Lee's got to go to bed.
Yeah, I have to go to bed early.
So we'll let you go, and I don't know. We'll see you next week or the week after, because I'm going to Tokyo.
Yeah.
And then I'll have some stuff going. So probably about 3 weeks.
We'll figure it out.
See you for episode 55.